Hello, good morning everybody, and welcome back to the studio. We'll be starting in a few minutes with drawing our cakes. Okay, so I've got everything set up. If you've watched the video online at www.jamiepaul.com, then you'll have seen how today's lesson is going to work. We will be drawing a cake. So if you've got a cake at home, then perfect. But if you haven't got a cake, then then just go on to the Facebook page, which is, I'm assuming that's where you are now, and there are a whole bunch of different pictures that you can use there. As you can see from the photos, it doesn't have to be a cake. It could be an ice cream or something like that. I'll put some photos on there. Obviously, ice cream's a bit different because it melts and all that sort of thing, but you can use a cake that you've got at home. I did some Bakewell tarts that I got from the co-op a few days ago, which are all now gone. But I will be taking you through the drawing process as I've done before. And I'll be drawing a cake of my own. You're going to use colour pencils. Some of the things we're going to use today are these things, which I know that some of you have got. So we'll be using burnishers and blending tools a little bit. So I shall be talking about that in a few minutes. So but if you haven't got a burnisher, you can use just an ordinary white pencil to blend colours together, and I'll also show you that before I start working on my own drawing. And make sure you keep sharing your work as you've been doing. Some of you should have seen on the gallery at the website some of your work, and you would have seen it also on this Facebook feed in the group as well. Okay, so I'm just going to set up, and we'll be back at my desk doing the drawing in just a few minutes. Thank you, whoever just liked that. Alright, I'll see you in a second then. Bye! Welcome back to the studio. We'll be Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the art studio, and welcome back to our fourth lesson. Teaching, doing a lesson about drawing and painting, and giving us a bit of time together to really focus on something enjoyable and fun. So, as if you've seen the video already, you'll know that we are doing a yummy lesson today, looking at cakes, and I've chosen this artist called Wayne Theobald, and he was an artist who was particularly well known for painting things like this. So he would paint cakes, he would and he would paint things like lipsticks, ice cream, cans with paint cans, and lots of yummy things like that. So I thought that this would be a really fun lesson to do. Somebody suggested this last week, and I just thought suddenly, yes, that's something that, yes, it makes us feel nice to eat a cake. So I've got this one to finish off today. It's nice to sort of eat a cake. It's nice to look at them. They're beautiful things, particularly when they're well decorated and things. So as I said a few minutes ago, if you don't have a cake, please look on the stream below. I've posted about 18 different photographs of cakes that you can choose from if you haven't got a picture already. So you can just put one of those up on your screen and use that if you want to, or if you've got a printer, print it out too. Okay, so yesterday when I was filming in preparation for this, I drew a couple of Bakewell tarts using colour pencils. So I'll just put that over there. So I was using two particular tools which some of you may not be familiar with, and some of you will have, and those are the Burnisher, which is this one here. These are sold by Derwent pencils, of which I am using also today. I'm using these Derwent colour pencils. So we've got a Burnisher, which is really great for creating like a really smooth, shiny sort of surface on your drawing. It can also be used to help blend colours together. And then this one here, which is also from Derwent, by the way, they come in a pack together, is a blender. So you'll find this really useful when you put a couple of colours down on top of each other. You can use them to blend those colours and smooth them out and make a really nice professional looking effect on your drawings. However, if you don't have one of those, you can just use an ordinary white pencil. So I've got, that's a Giotto one there, but I've got a really nice soft one. This is particularly soft, this Chinese white from Derwent. I bought this separately, all on Amazon, so I got them all delivered and things. So it's probably the only option you've got at the moment if you want to go and get a pencil like this. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate perhaps a couple of the things you can do with it. If you've been on the website, jamie-pool.com, then you will see on there that there is a little video which I found on YouTube that you can look at, which will give you a few more tips, perhaps even more than I'm going to give you right now, but I will show you what I know about them. Okay, so you can do a couple of things with these. So I'll just do perhaps a simple blend to begin with. So I'll take just a couple of random colours. So what should we have? We'll have a nice green, and let's have something like this, a yellow. So we'll just put that, I'll do it on here actually. So first of all, you can shade as normal, so you apply more pressure to go from dark through to light, so you can shade as if you're using a normal pencil. And then you can already start to blend using the yellow on top, and then hopefully the blender, this, if you go round quite heavily with it, it starts to push the pencil together and actually starts to smooth the pencils out. Now it depends on what sort of paper you're using, but I'm using a really basic cartridge paper here, so I found that this particular cartridge paper will kind of come up actually, so if you've got a good quality paper you'll probably find it a little bit easier. So there's a basic sort of blending technique you can use, but you can also do it, as I said, you can get a white, which is what I've always done. I've only recently started using these blenders, but if you put some colour down, so apply the colour quite lightly rather than heavily. So there's a couple of colours on top of each other, and then you get your white, and it will make it a bit lighter, but then what I tend to do is, because it does sort of start to blend the colours together, you can go back over the top again, so put some more green on and some more yellow, and then use this white is quite soft, so I'll try this one actually. So you can smooth and blend off the colours like this. So you end up with this lovely smooth sort of surface, a bit like that. This is a bit better perhaps than this because you end up with a bit more white, but it works pretty well in both cases really. Okay, so we're going to be looking particularly, and you'll see this as I work, we're going to be looking at how, first of all, how perhaps Wayne Theobald has used colours and the shadows that were common in advertising and things to add and experiment with different colours. And you'll see on his picture that that there are bits of green and then there's layers of blue, but there are also some warmer colours coming through there as well. So he really did layer the colours up. And pencils are particularly good for layering colours up. It won't look quite perhaps as painterly, of course, but it will be quite interesting just to see what happens when you start to mix and blend different colours together. And if you've watched the video, you'll see how I worked on the cherry as well. I combined purples, browns, and of course reds, and then I used a white pen to add highlights on top. So if you've got a white pen as well, they're brilliant because you can add highlights back over the top which are quite punchy and bright and help the whole picture to stand out as well. So if you've got one of those, have a go with that too. Okay, so yeah, so that was my Bakewell tart from yesterday. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to leave the tarts because I want to eat that one in a minute. And I'm going to have a go at drawing this beauty just here. So this is a lovely big chocolate cake that I found online just this morning, and I thought it would be nicer for everybody to see how I approach drawing on a bigger scale, so that perhaps you can see a bit more detail, and also how the blending and the mixing goes as I go through that. Okay, so I've started to sketch out this chocolatey cake already, I need to make a few adjustments. That's the interesting thing, is when you've drawn something and you come back to it, you do see how you need to change things a little bit as well. So I shall be drawing in some of these details as we go along and adjusting shapes and things. But you know, it'll be fun just to experiment. Now the other thing that I did when I was adding the colour using my pencils is I rubbed out some of the graphite pencil as well, because sometimes the graphite pencil can stain your colours as you're working, because this is probably quite dusty, even more so than the colour pencils, so it ends up dirtying some of the colours. So try to avoid doing any shading or anything like that when you're working with the colour pencils. Sorry, when you're working with the normal graphite pencil, because you don't want it to stain your colour when you're working on it. The other thing I'm doing with this as well is I am going to add a shadow just underneath there as well. Okay, so I'll just be starting that in a few seconds. How is everybody doing? Are we all on? 17 of you, that's lovely. And a few comments. Hi there, Jill. You would like to try using colour pencils? I can go online to get them, but wonder if you have any advice what I should look for. Oh, so you want to buy some pencils? Is that right, Jill? Well, if you want to buy some pencils, best place to go at the moment, I would say, is probably Amazon. But you want to be looking for Derwent pencils are generally the ones that I've used for many years, and they're pretty good for blending and doing a variety of things. Sometimes you find that different types of pencils aren't quite as good because the leads are harder and they don't have as much, they're not as soft enough for the blending and things. So, but Derwent pencils tend to be the really good ones that I've been using for quite a while. The other thing that a lot of people say as well is watercolour pencils, but without using them as watercolour pencils, just use them as they are. They do wear down quite quickly, but again, they're lovely and soft to use and quite enjoyable as well. Hi Jackie, hi Pat, hi Julie, hi Leslie. Someone's already eaten their cake as well. Julie. So yeah, it's just use a photograph if you can see one on there. Can I just ask it as well, if anyone can answer, is the camera at a good angle to be able to see what I'm doing? I'm just wondering, because I've had to move it around a little bit already. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to twist the camera around, everyone, just to see if I can get a better angle. Bear with me. Right, so when I'm working with drawing any object in colour pencils, what I tend to like to do is grab a few different colours to work with, so that I've got them in my hand and I can just switch between colours, because you'll find that it's quite good fun to sort of be blending and mixing a lot as you go along. So I'm just going to grab, because obviously I've got a very browny sort of cake here. There will be other colours that I'll be putting in there as well to give it a bit more energy and stuff, but we'll have a look. That's better, thank you. Oh no, Linda's eating hers too. Well, I'm going to be eating this one, in fact. Yummy. So anyway, where was I? I was just collecting a few different colours so that I can get started on this. If you've taken a bite out of your cake, that might be quite interesting to draw. But if you can't resist eating them, then you're going to need a photograph. So take a photograph before you scoff it. Right. I will be using white as well. Just going to grab a few sort of random colours. So I'll use these ones to get started with, and before I get started I'll just refine some of the edges and things as well. I suppose the only problem we got now is it's upside down. So I'm just neatening up a little bit before I really crack on with using the colour pencils. I know it was, yeah, I just turned it around and realised it was upside down. I think I've got it a bit better now. Just trying to get it as good as I can for everybody. Seem to be struggling with that a little bit this morning. Hopefully that's a little bit better now. I'll just move in a little bit more, perhaps. Yep. So I'm just going to start with a general sort of bit of shadow on some of the old cream and things. Buttercream, I think it is, isn't it? So even though, you know, you're putting your pencil in, don't feel afraid to sort of make some adjustments as you go along as well. It will look like a bit of a jumble of lines to begin with, a bit like this one, but as you progress, putting in just some general shades in different places, you should start to see the image come out a little bit more. So I've just chosen this colour to start with, which is a nice golden brown. Just spotted a bit here I need to put in. And a little chocolate drop thing just up there. And then we've got some shadow underneath. So I'm just using a basic sort of crosshatch technique here, just to sort of put in a little bit of colour, just to start mapping out where everything's going, as I said before. It's when you start looking quite closely at things you start to see as well other colours appearing as you start looking a bit closer as well. So just putting in a little bit of tone and shadow just helps you to see where things are really, or things that you've missed. And it gives you a base point, you know, a base area for you to work from when you start to really get into the mixing and things. Hi Mary, it's good to see you. Hi Chloe. Oh, you've got a college interview. Well, good luck. Good luck with your college interview, Chloe. I hope it goes well. They must be ringing, I guess, for your interview. Well, I hope it goes really well. Let us know how it goes too if you do get a call during the lesson. If you want to use a cake from your GCSE art folder, brilliant, go for it. Well, we'll see you later, Tiana. Please let us know how you get on with it all. So I'm starting to sort of see where I've got most things in already. There are a couple of corrections that I can do along the way as well. And the old chocolate drops, I'm just starting to see where they need to go as well. We've got one here, perhaps a bit smaller. I'm just going to put that in. So this is again like one of those ellipses that I was talking about recently on the key one, and yesterday when I was doing the Bakewell tart. Everything keeps rolling around at the moment. Right, and just here, so I can look at the distances between these shapes. There's this curly bit going around here on the cream, and then that's where I start to see the other chocolate drop, which looks a little bit bigger than the other one. There's the back of it, just there, and then just above that is another chocolate drop. Yummy. If you've got a cake that you're actually drawing, it'd be lovely to see those as well. If you've not eaten them, you can please post them so we can have a look. Another one slightly smaller. Just look at the spaces in between objects as well. This bit here, this disc shape on the cream, is just between that chocolate drop and that one, just over there. You notice I'm putting my finger on the bit that I'm drawing. I don't always do that, but sometimes it's quite helpful because it just keeps you focused on the bit that you're actually drawing. I mean, you can use things like a grid, which we've done before, but it's quite nice just to draw things freehand sometimes, just to free up the movement of the drawing process. There we go. It's a mixture of drawing really, because the cream itself is quite kind of flowing and got a lot of movement to it, whereas the bottom of the cake down here has got almost like a formality to it, because it's got this elliptical sort of shape which you want to do your best to get right. It's quite a nice photo. There we go. Right, and then once I've got that chocolate drop in, notice that this bit goes along a bit further than I've already got in here, so I'm just going to expand that out there as much as I can anyway. So I'm trying not to be afraid to make adjustments and things as I go along. And I'll put in a bit of the shadows so I can see where I'm going in a few minutes when I start working into it a bit more. Right, that will do it, I think. Okay, so I'm going to work on one little area. I quite fancy doing this dark bit round where the chocolate is. Do need to make an adjustment there. Just noticed something, that this bit, they're rubbing out quite nicely actually with a putty rubber. Bit of an old putty rubber now. I'm just going to bring that in a bit there, because this bit comes down here and around the bottom of that there. So I'm just going to adjust that. this can do that. That's better. Right, now I'm going to really hammer in some darker shadows now, which are these bits just here. Now, I've got a nice dark brown in here. I'm not going to use black again because black can be a very dominating colour to use, or pencil, or whatever you want to call it, a tone. In fact, you know, even though black does send things back into the ground, it sort of just pops forward against other colours often. So I try to avoid black and substitute it with some other colours to darken down the tones in things. So the front of this chocolate drop here, I'm just going to make sure that's a bit darker to bring it forward, and just in there where the shadows are, going to darken that area down a bit as well. Now the back of the chocolate drop, I'm definitely going to use a little bit of purple in there, because the light in the photograph has created this kind of purpley kind of haze or colour over the top. I'm just going to carry on putting a bit more of that in. There's a little bit in here as well. And then I'm going to start bringing in some other colours and perhaps use those blenders a little bit as well. Yay, blenders. There we go. Right, and I'll bring in some of that original colour that I started to use to start mixing those in. And then I'm really going to make it a bit darker. Inside of there. So I'm going to grab some, perhaps a bit of dark blue and some purple. There we go. So I'm going to start. Now, as I said earlier, I've got to be careful that I don't bring the paper up. So I'm more hatching, and by that I mean like make the paper wear out too quickly by going in too heavily with the colours to begin with. So I'm just working in gradually without pressing too hard. I've perhaps gone a bit dark on that area already, but never mind. So once you've put some of the darker colours, then what you do is you put in some of the colour back over the top again. So this would be in the brown, and then we'll have a go with the blender. There we are, bit of blending. So I'm using a bit of a circular motion here. What I'll need is a bit of white as well. Perhaps I'll zoom in a little bit more. Oops. Oh dear. There we go. So I've got some of these colours here. I've got this one, it's called a flesh pink and a light sienna. So I'm going to put some light sienna on here. I'm looking at this top bit just here. It is a bit kind of warmer around this area, so I do need to be able to put in some warmer colours too. But first of all, let's get some white on it. You'll see that where I haven't rubbed out the pencil marks in there, the original sort of outlines, yeah, they come through on the paper, so that's something to look out for when you're working, everybody. So I'm going to use this warmer brown just inside the creamy bits. Down here as well. So it's really nice to gradually build the colour in and just see what happens really, just see how the colours mix together. This is quite a nice one to do because all the colours on here are similar. Obviously I'm just using mostly browns at the moment, a bit of purple for the darker bits. And you can also burnish with other colours, so I'm using this now, which is the flesh pink, back over the top of this area. So not pressing too hard. And the nice thing about this, particularly with everything that's going on in the world, is that you can spend, you know, if you do it a reasonable size, you can spend quite a bit of time just enjoying the process of making this drawing. And just kind of, you know, absorbing yourself into the process of working, which I think is great. It certainly is a bit of a release, isn't it? You know, from sitting around and worrying about everything to actually just getting the chance to absorb yourself in something. That's why art and things like that are really good for this. Gardening is another great one, isn't it? There we are. You'll see the way I'm using the pencil isn't necessarily just straight backwards and forwards either. I'm using this kind of circular motion to go around. This particular part of the cake is kind of a lovely golden yellow just here. You know, the buttercream. So I'm just going round, and I want it to be kind of a smooth blend as well, so I'm going round and round in this circular motion, and then I'm going to bring in some white on top, which really does smooth it off lovely. Now if you find that, you know, your pencil's obliterating some of the original colour, then of course you just go back over it again. So I'm going to get a little bit of this purple again in here. Like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna finish this area off here. Get some white in first. Sometimes you can put down a bit of white to begin with, and that way you're creating a kind of a base that you're going to work back over, and then when you do the blending or the burnishing on top, that white is already there underneath and will actually help you to blend those colours even more. You must remember as well to keep rubbing out some of the old pencil marks. Here we go. Get rid of a few of those. going to put in a little bit of this kind of colour here, which is, it's called golden brown actually. Put a little bit of that in, you see, and then put the white back on top. Got this lovely rich colour. Now I still would like it to be darker in this area, so I'm going to put in a bit of the blue again down here. Put a bit of blue on the chalky drop, and then I've got quite a nice layer of colouring in there. Start to go a bit. Put in some of the brown on top of that. So you've got the darkness of the blue, but you've also got the nice brown over there as well. A bit more there. Hi Govinda. Are you not working today then? Are you with us this morning? Right, there's a little bit of a hole thing just there, so I'm going to put that in. Oop. Taking a bit of the paper out there. It does rub off quite well actually with these pencils, Derwent pencils. Oh, great. In your break. Brilliant. That's dedication for you. Yeah, let us know when you've had a go, Govinda. Please post what you do online so we can all have a look and enjoy each other's work. So even sometimes I just put like a little bit of the blue or the purple in just to darken things down, and then send it back again with a little bit of brown on top. Just want to get rid of some of that. There we go. As you can see, I like to take time over these things. You can do it much quicker than I'm doing it. I'll speed up a little bit. Just under there gets a bit darker. some lovely highlights on top of the creamy bits too, which we can put in. You could use paint actually, but I'm going to use a bit of pen. Sometimes they run out when you're working on them because the pencil kind of gets caught up. I'm just going to put in a few highlights with the pen on top. And you can dab it a little bit as well. Cake gone. So I'm just working on the other side of the creamy bits. Now I think there's a little bit more, I mean I know I've got this flesh pink colour that I mentioned earlier, but I think there might be, I could possibly put a bit more of these fleshy colours in and use some more of a rosy sort of colour in there as well. A bit of graphite. There we go. So colour pencils don't normally run out, rub out quite as well as graphite pencils do. That's not to stop you having a go. I managed to rub out a little bit, but not much, to be honest. Right, I'm just going to define this edge around here a bit more. That's it. And then a bit of white, that's a bit heavy. And then some of that fleshy colour. If your cake is a little bit bigger, it's sometimes easier to just to explore the colours a bit. Not although yesterday when I did the Bakewell tarts, it was okay. A few more yellows be handy. Golden yellow in there as well. Tampered down with a bit of brown and then some white on top. And then I definitely want something a bit pinker. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put a shadow underneath this chocolate. So it has got kind of a purpley tinge to it. Saying that, I don't want it to stand out as purple on its own. Okay, and I'm going to start putting in the back of my chocolate drop. Put a bit of purple in there, mixed in with a bit of brown. And some white. And some white. I need to define that a little bit more as well. Like a red warm rim around that. I have to say it's very quiet around here this morning. It's been so nice that it's been so quiet. When you take the dog out for a walk, it's just so lovely because all you can hear is the birds. So yeah, this chocolate drop here is a really different colour to the rest of it. It's so purple around there, it's really nice to look at. A little bit of white just to blend that through. Just Got to make sure there's no gaps in there as well. There we go, we're getting there. Right. Get rid of some of this graphite. A bit of red in there. Oops, keep doing that. So if anyone's got any questions about using their pencils, everyone seems to be getting on alright, from what I can tell. If you've got any questions though, please feel free to ask. I'm pretty absorbed in what I'm doing here. Bit of white to help blend things together. Need to sharpen that one. So I'm just burnishing these, or mixing these with a bit of white now, because it's very white around this area here. One thing I'll probably do on this particular corner here is, you can see how it's very dark in the background. That helps the cake stand out quite well, doesn't it? So I'd probably work back into the background a little bit to help that stand out. But just for now, I'm just going to carry on as I am. Bit of purple in there underneath this bit. When you start really looking at the colours, you start to spot so much more. nice lovely light violet down here. Oh, that's lovely, that's nice. There's a bit of violet up here as well, I've just spotted. Put that in too. There's a bit of a warmer colour down here, which I can blend together in a few minutes. It's actually got a bit wider, this bit, but well, don't worry about that too much. Polishing it together, or bringing it together with the white pencil just there, and then this purple, it looks kind of greyish, sort of purpley colour around here, so put the purple in, soften it a bit with a bit of white, some more yellow around here, mixed in with a bit of the what's this one, the skin tone I think it is, light sienna, and then some white to send it away again. Lots of fun. I'll do this bit. This has got some yellow in it as well, but I'm going to start with the light sienna, so that I've got a base to work back into. Got to be aware of all those graphite marks as well. So put in this light sienna. This bit should have been wider actually. Never mind. Bit of yellow in there. Perhaps a little bit of brown on top. And then I'll get the blender on this. Push it around. One thing about these blenders is it does pick up some of the colour you were using before, so clean it off. You can use a bit of sandpaper or something I suppose, but alternatively use a scalpel blade. There's a blend in some of the colours together. It's a bit too yellowy, so plenty of white on top of that. Smooth it off a bit. Okay. That's it. It's much warmer around that area. And we need some of that in there too. Right, I'm going to come down the bottom. This is a kick. Remove again some of the graphite. If you haven't got a white pencil to lighten the colours, what could you use? Well, if you've got a blender, you could try that. Yeah, you might struggle without a white pencil. You could use a lighter colour to try and lighten things up, like I've been doing. I've got this flesh pink here, You'll just have to sort of use the, I think you'll have to use the palette pencils much lighter, much more lightly as you work, so that you don't oversaturate the paper with all the colour. That's the best thing I can suggest, really. The alternative, of course, is that you use a little bit of white paint on the top, or you just paint the whole thing. But see how you get on anyway. But try using the colours a bit lighter if you haven't got a white pencil. Let's come down here a bit. Graphite. Even if you rub out, you know, most of the pencil marks, you can more or less see whereabouts you were anyway, so it's not a big deal if you've rubbed out a lot of the detail. Lightly putting in the colours here. Some browns in as well under this dark bit, and a lovely darker area across the top. And there's plenty of that pink in there too. What pencil am I using for the highlights? I've got this one that I bought individually online. It's called Chinese White. It's a Derwent drawing pencil, and it's got a number on it as well, 7,200. I think I just ordered that separately online because you can buy individual pencils online as well. So on this little bit here, I'm just going to add some white in first, then a little bit of brown on top of the white. So if I've got white underneath the colour already, then when it comes to adding, if you add more white on top of that, then you'll find it blends really nicely, a little bit easier. Now this bit here, I'd like to be a bit more punchy, so I'm just going to put in a little bit of that, and then I'll get the blender. We'll have a go with the blender on that bit, see how that works. Yep, that blends out, smooths it off a little bit. A bit more white on this area. Yeah, this Chinese white does go very nicely over the top of a lot of the pencils because it's so soft. stick a bit of pen in that bit there. Okay, back down underneath. It's a bit redder just under there as well. What we'll do is I'll tackle a little bit of the actual brownie underneath, if it's brownie. Give it a bit of oomph. Yeah, this light violet, I quite like that on here. It's interesting how you spot things as you work as well that you want to improve on. Right, coming on slowly. A bit more white up there. Right, I'm going to put a little bit of the detail underneath, I think. Going quite heavy. Now this is a much deeper brown underneath the cream. So I don't want to go too heavy too quickly because of my paper. And I'm going to use the pencil a little bit differently because I want it to look a bit kind of crusty or textured, if you like. So I'm just going to work underneath, directly underneath. I'm doing kind of a scribbly technique at the moment. Start as I mean to carry on. Quite wide a lot around there. Okay. Work out where I'm going to put the shadows. There is kind of a highlight along here as well that I'll put in as well. It does get thinner just here. Okay, and I go quite dark under there, so I'm using this blue at the moment. I may choose to change that. Yeah, I'll probably use purple again. Get nice and dark under there. umber. Blue. This is called a Delft blue, actually. Quite a nice colour. Put that blue in, because I want that depth where it goes underneath the cream. So I'm really just putting it straight in there. And then I'm going to tone it back down again with the brown. In other words, so it doesn't look blue anymore. And if that works, I shall carry on. I actually see some green in the brown as well, just on this side here. Around here it's kind of a greeny, mossy looking colour for some reason. Doesn't sound very appetising, does it? Okay, so back in with the brown. Yeah, lovely depth in there. It's quite nice, working a little bit differently underneath. Some of that green I'll put in a bit. There's lots of different colours in this. Beautiful. Nice and dark. Probably go even darker. So yeah, with the Leslie, with the white, you can use a bit of paint on top if you need to go lighter again. You know, if you've coloured over one area too much, you need to get darker again, then use a bit of white paint over the top. You might struggle to shade back on top of it again, but you know, you could use that as a technique if you haven't got a white pencil, as a way of getting around things. The alternative to that is just when you're using the pencils, just use them really gently, lightly, so that you're using the white of the paper to help you put those highlights in, if you see what I mean. So you leave some areas more empty than others as you work. Okay? Okie dokie. So now I'm going to get stuck in with a bit more detail there, I think. I've just seen David's what are they, rhubarb and custard eclairs or something. Fantastic. I love those colours that you've used on there. Superb. I love it. You keep doing that. Right. Let's see if I can put these wiggly bits in on here. Yeah, I love the painterly effect and the texture you've got on there, and the colours. Very Wayne Theobald. So I'm just going to put in a few of these shapes so that I can work into the bottom of the crust. I don't know where the time goes, but can't believe we've been at this for an hour and a half already. Right. Plenty of warmer colours in this as well. Crusty bits on the top. Bit of stippling maybe. More of an orangey colour. And a bit of red. And here. Some pinks. Colour bonanza. So this is olive, earthy colour that I'm putting in here, because I do notice that this brown is very different to some of the stuff we've been doing earlier. So I am putting a little bit of green in here. Having a lot of fun here, moving around quite quickly. That's alright, Leslie. Moving up round the outside, a bit more green in there. So even though like it looks a bit weird when you start putting down random colours everywhere, eventually those colours, if you keep working back over them, will start to mix together a little bit more. I probably need to go a bit harsher in places to pick out some of the crustier bits again, but we can go back into those, which I'll do a little bit of now. Yeah, quite a build up of pencil now. I'm going to use the pen over here to get some highlights back into it as well. Lots of stippling dots. Just trying to get some of that texture in. Yeah, use the blue for that. So I'm just going to try to knock it back without ruining the paper with some brown. Plenty of pink round here. A stronger pink. So Mary, have you got any tips for getting the ovoid shape. Oh right, please Jamie, as I'm having real problems getting my tart to the right shape. Also, don't buy cheap paper. Yes, it does wear. Okay, so with the ovals, I'll do a quick drawing. Just want to find my pencil. I'll just use one of these. So with the oval shapes, what you can do, and if I'm looking at something like this, try to imagine the whole thing as see-through. Okay, so with this cake here, if you look through the cake, look through the cake, he says, but if you think of this shape here as continuing behind, so if I start like this, I don't always do this, but it's good practice, right? Now you do your ellipses quite loosely, okay, so don't try and draw them perfectly the first time, okay, but go round like this. Now what you can do is find the middle of it, so look either side and then through the center like this, and then that gives you an indication of where the center of your oval or cupcake in this case is. Alright, and then you can draw the lines going up. Can you see this? And then you can draw the lines up from the side. Obviously you need to look still at your drawing, okay? And then because the cupcake goes up at the sides, I've drawn two lines that go up from the sides, and then those two lines, the height of them, you can draw a line going across again, okay, and then the top ellipse is going to match the curve of the bottom one that you can actually see. Okay, now drawing it transparent just allows you to see where the edge is going to meet the sides, okay, and you can do the same on the top one, matching the curve on the bottom. So let's just draw another ellipse, and it helps actually if you draw them in very loosely when you start off, okay, because that allows you, and I think I said something like this last week, it allows you the freedom to be able to change it as you go along. So now I've got the basic shape, I can then put it in. Now here you won't get a point, you'll get more of a, on the corners here, look, you'll get a curve and not a pointed edge like that, or a sharp edge. And the same at the top here, it's going to curve off and disappear at some point. But ellipses do take a little bit of practice. It's worth just sitting and drawing things with curves on them as you work, because it's going to improve your the quality of your work, or the quality of your ellipses if you practice them. Okay, so my tip is try to imagine the whole object as see-through, okay, and then draw a cross through the middle and project a line up like this. Then where you want the ellipse to start, that cross point is the middle of the next ellipse. Okay, and then you've got a more accurate shape doing it that way. It's worth just practicing drawing things like, you know, a cup or something like that, and practicing getting these edges the same sort of distance apart as well, because you're looking at it from the same angle if it's see-through like this. You could try drawing bottles and glass, you know, like a drinking glass and things like that to practice your ellipses. One thing that people also do often when they draw ellipses is they leave the edges, and I was taught this at school, the edges of the ellipses really sharp. Even when the ellipses are really, really thin, they've got a little bit of a curve on the end. and obviously when they're round like that. So it's worth just using the whole of your arm to draw those ellipses at the same time as well. So look, I'm not doing this with my wrist. I'm doing the whole thing using my arm. Sometimes it helps to do it standing up as well, because if you do it standing up you can use your whole body, or it gives you a bit more movement in your body to enable you to draw more freely as well. Okay, I hope that answers your question. That's brilliant. I am going to... Thank you. Good. I'm glad it looks better already. Good. Yeah, I mean, all these things take practice, you know. The more, obviously, the more that you do them, the better you're going to get. All right. Super. So I've had a go there, look, at putting some texture onto my my brownie, and you saw how many colours that I've used just to sort of achieve something reasonably close to the sort of crusty texture. Here it's much more about putting the mark making in, building up the colour, looking to see where the other colours are. So I've got this kind of greeny browny sort of colour in there, adding the depth using the blues and the purples, highlighting areas, spotting other colours like the pinks and things that are in the sides on the highlights. So you can have a lot of fun really just exploring colour, if anything else. Okay, and then that contrasts of course with the technique that I've been using to do all this lovely cream, which I really enjoyed doing this morning. Which is much more of a smoother technique. One that involves a bit more of the old blending and things, but also just as much colour, but in slightly different quantities and amounts in different places. So I'm just going to do a little bit more of this before we disembark today's class. I hope it's helpful that I put this video onto the website. I don't know if anyone's been watching it on there, but I'll keep doing it for the time being so that people can re-watch this. I think you could probably watch it on here anyway, on Facebook itself, but for those that aren't going on Facebook, I'll put it onto the website in a little while as well. You'll probably find that once you get warmed up with doing all these different things as well, that it comes a bit more naturally and a bit more quickly as well. And when you've been looking really closely at all the detail in these drawings, then it's worth, again, like I've said before, stand back from where you were looking and look at the overall picture, because what I'm seeing now more is I've really looked at all these different colours in detail as you saw me doing, but when I've stood back I can see there's a lot more like overall general colour that I could just apply very loosely over the top. And I did this with the Bakewell tarts yesterday, is I just worked back over general larger areas of the picture as well. And sometimes it helps to stand back from it as well, because it just gives you a slightly different perspective on things. You know, you start spotting stuff that you perhaps wouldn't have spotted sitting where you were for most of the lesson. So it is worth just standing away from things and saying, ah, I can spot this now. I can see things that I didn't see before. because you can kind of get really involved in some of the colours that you're using. So it's good to have a different look at things. I've really enjoyed drawing this cake. Very nice. Oh, was that helpful with the Linnet? Was that helpful with the ellipses and things, was it? Oh, right. So, Chloe, you've been on the website using the video on there, have you? That's good to know. Because I hate to put things on and they're not really useful to anybody. Thank you. I'm standing up now, whereas most of the lesson I was sitting doing this. I'm now standing up, and because I'm a bit further away from the picture, I can actually see a little bit more generally of what I need to be doing with my lovely cream. So now I'm standing up here as well. I can also see that the angle on the side of the cake here is a bit more pronounced than on mine. So I am going to just change that quickly as well. So I'm going to bring that in. If I look at the bottom of the cake and I draw a line straight up like the edge of the paper, I can see where on the cream it should be as well. So if I do that look, I can see that it's going to be a little bit sharper in there, and there's not a pointy sort of straight up sort of line there. It is more of a curve, even though there's a little bit of a fold in the paper. So I'm just going to bring that up there, add in some of the ripply bits which go up around the cake, around the buttercream even, up there, another one in there, like little steps going around just there. So let's just change that for the better. Even when you think you've got your ellipses and things right, sometimes you still have to make adjustments. So they are particularly they're quite difficult things to do, really. Ellipses, you do need to really practice them, but it is very satisfying when you can see something looks, you know, 3D and all that sort of bananas. Putting some lines in there. Yummy cream at the top. Well, I hope you're enjoying this, everybody. I'm really excited to see your work. So, I mean, you can post it now if you want to, or if you want to spend a bit longer working on them, I'd love, please do. But I'd love to see what you've been doing, because I'm, obviously drawing away myself here, and it was lovely to see David's one just a little while ago. But I'd love to see some more, and then we can, keep sharing over the next week. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. I think we might do something different next week. I'm thinking some sort of faces or something, but we'll see. But again, like we had last week, if anyone's got any ideas, that'd be great. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you've been relaxing. Karen, you've done a Bakewell, so now you're going to watch the video. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So if there's anyone else you think might benefit from joining our classes, please let them know where the website is and invite them to join. I know everybody doesn't always attend the live lessons and does it outside of lessons. That's good. So let them know where the website is too, so that they can have a go. Because it is a great thing to do, just to pass some time. And it really just brings you into the present, doesn't it? Doing a bit of art. Ah, yes, Sonia, some better pencils. Yep, I do recommend the Derwent pencils, but there are lots of different brands out there that are really good. The WH Smith pencils over the years, when children have used them at school, have always been really nice to use as well. But yeah, it is worth investing in some. If you buy really cheap ones, then they tend to be difficult to blend as well. But if you, as I said, if you look for the Burnishers and the blenders online, you'll find that they're really nice to use as well. But yeah, if anyone buys new pencils and has a go at using them, then let me know how it goes. I know it's difficult to get hold of stuff at the moment, and it perhaps takes a bit longer for things to arrive if you order them online. But if you manage to get hold of some and you'd like to give us a review on how they work for you, that'd be really nice too. Thanks, Pat. It's lovely to see you. I hope your wrist is all right as well. I'm glad I'm glad you're enjoying the classes as well. I'm really enjoying it as well, because it actually gives me a bit of time away from all the other projects I've got on at the moment. Working on the website and various other little things. Doing a portrait. Alright, so thank you very much, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed doing all of that today, and yeah, we'll meet up again next week at the same time. Let me know if you've got any more questions or anything, and I'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna go now. Thank you. Bye bye. Oh, circus. Thank you, Chloe. Don't forget to post your drawings, everyone. Hi Anne, thank you Anne. Thank you for coming. Ah, your Bakewell. Hang on, let me have a look. Well, I can't see it yet, Karen. So I'll have a look and I'll comment on it later. All right. Thanks, David. Thank you very much. Enjoyed seeing your work. It's very, very sort of colourful and fun. Good stuff. Keep practicing. Ah, some religious drawings. That would be great. Yeah, I've done a few sort of paintings of myself, of my own, which you can see on the website. Yeah, I did a few for Easter, didn't I? Did you see those? Those I just did in a sort of normal pen, actually. And I found some images online that I wanted to use and sort of incorporated them together. Now there's a good cake. Yummy. Sounds good, Chloe. Well, if you do any more drawings, let me know. I'd love to see them, or just send them to me, and I'd love to have a look. Okay, right. I am going to go, everybody, now. So, Thanks for attending again, and have a fantastic week. Make sure you relax and get some of that sunshine in the garden and on your daily walk. All right, bye bye everyone. Thank you.